For this next drawing that we're going to do, we are going to be working on drawing just the silhouettes or outlines of 5 different items that you find around your house. I chose some man-made items like the speaker, the honey bear. I have a little jar of enamel paint, and I chose some organic items too. I want you to do what I'm doing here, just choosing items that are pretty different from one another, just to challenge yourself with really seeing the variation and differences between the outlines of each shape. We're really exploring a lot of shape ultimately here with this drawing. Now, one thing that I don't want to see happen just even before I start this demo here in this video is absolutely do not trace around your items and take a photo and hand that in. I can actually always tell when things are traced. So I want you to do this in the way that I'm going to demonstrate here. All right, so I'm just going to demonstrate just 2 items today. I'm going to demonstrate the honey bear, and I will demonstrate the abalone seashell as well. And I'll just remove these other ones. So I'm just going to set these over here, and I'm going to demonstrate this using my pencil pack. And I also want you to have that white rubber eraser handy. That's going to come in handy because we're going to be doing erasing today. And I'm going to do this demonstration with my 2 different pencils, my 2B and my HB pencil. So also for this drawing, feel free to put all 5 items into your 18 by 24 piece of paper, or you can do a couple items on a smaller piece of paper. And I ask you all to try to keep the items to the actual scale of how big they are. So I want this honey bear to be the full 5 inches. As I translate it onto the drawing, I want this abalone seashell to be the full 7 inches tall as I translate it onto the drawing. So we're going for life size, translating it to the correct size, okay? The actual size of the objects. All right, so let's start with the honey bear. So what I'm gonna do when I start my drawing is I'm just gonna get comfortable, angle my first item to be looking at me. And I'm gonna start with my HB pencil because it's a lighter lead to it. So when you're doing the silhouette, I want you to start with the interior information, the interior things that you're looking at on your item, and then move to the exterior or the silhouette. So with the honey bear, it's a really symmetrical object, and I'm actually looking at the eyeballs of this. So with my pencil, my HB pencil, I'm going to just start by drawing really, really lightly and really, really loosely in a very sketchy manner, like a modified blind contour that we did before. Keeping my pencil on the page, not really using my eraser too much at the moment right now, but just letting my eye follow along the edges, but also very much the interior, which is important. So I'm looking at the space between the eyeballs. I'm looking at the shape of this like nose here. It's kind of this triangle shape. I'm looking at the shape of, well, that's a snout, right? And then I'm going to look at the nose of the snout of the honey bear, and it's kind of this upside down heart shape. Actually, the whole snout is a upside down heart shape. So even like, actually, like I always do this thing when I'm drawing, I tend to like keep my pencil just like kind of moving. I don't know, I think that like kind of building up the lines, these contour lines, and then finally landing on where the actual edge is a really great way to learn how to draw and to kind of work with like all the mistakes as you go, and not even think about them as mistakes, but just kind of think about them as the entire process of getting an accurate representation of this 3-dimensional object down on this two-dimensional piece of paper. So since there's symmetry here, I can go to the top of the left of the ear and I can bring it all the way over. I can go to the bottom of the ear and I can bring this all the way over. And then that way I actually don't even really have to look when I do that too much. I can kind of just like rely on the symmetry of this man-made object. In fact, I can even, when I'm getting the body down, I can bring this all the way down a straight line because I know I'm working with symmetry on this. And I'm gonna kind of start to do the front of the honey bear where the label that says honey goes, a little sticker. It's a nice rectangle. And then I'm gonna go back up to the neck. I'm gonna really look at this outline now. I'm gonna kind of start to check my silhouette. I'm working from the interior right, so I'm checking my silhouette from this rectangular part where the label goes, and then I'm gonna kind of bring it up and look at the cheek here, the cheek to shoulder relationship that's happening, and bring that down because there's like sort of this little arm. And I'm looking at broader shapes too. I'm looking at the more like geometrical shapes in this. So remember, like I said, the heart, that's really like an upside down triangle. I started with the head, which is a circle. We have the arm on the left here, which is an oval. I'm gonna bring that oval over here so I can just take the bottom of my oval and kind of drag a horizontal line there, arrange the other arm to line up with that. Can also arrange the top to line up with that too. And then we kind of have the bottom here. I just sort of worked my way from the bottom to the top. I feel like every time I draw, I don't really draw the same every time. Like every time I draw something, I don't start from the bottom to the top. I just work with the challenges of what is in front of me, and I kind of go with the flow from there. There's something also that not everyone is going to be, everyone will be working with different items, right? Like finding different items in your house. So some of you might find these items, like if you have a jar, if you have a cup, or, that kind of boom speaker that I was showing for one of my 5 items. When you're working with that, you're going to kind of be working with perspective a little bit, but don't get too hung up on perspective when you're doing this. Just like worry more about finding that interior information, finding those geometrical shapes. But this could be like a really quick lesson in that right now that I'm discovering. So this is called an ellipse right here. We're working with like geometry, working with perspective. This ellipse, the top of my honey bear plastic bottle, this curve right here needs to have an exact parallel curve that comes down right here. That needs to be a perfect parallel match. And that only applies really to the lid here, because when I go down, I notice that the way that this plastic bottle is designed is that there's kind of like a little indent right here. So I'm really just trying to look at the differences in all of the angles in the shape. Okay, so once I have all of that down, all of my interior information, we're gonna bust out that eraser. I'm gonna set down my HB pencil for a second, and I'm gonna grab my 2B pencil because it makes a little bit of a darker mark when I apply harder pressure with my hand. So now that I have all that interior information laid out, I'm going to bring my pencil up and around. Gently, the light hand, make sure I'm doing everything correctly. This is the silhouette part. This is the part that I really want everyone to focus on. Just make those lines nice and smooth and dark or heavy. I kind of skipped over the interior information of the claws here, or not the claws, or bear claws, bear hands that are kind of holding the tummy. I can just kind of put that in there, even though it's sort of an afterthought at this point because I'm already working on the silhouette, which is like the goal for this assignment. I'm going to just put those in here just as a guide, even though they're kind of sloppily drawn in. And keep on working on my silhouette. that guideline that I have up there. Make sure that I'm looking at the accuracy of everything. I can see I already made somewhat of a mistake. Now I'm looking at these kind of things like this lid, the dispenser of where the honey comes out. Is it really just right on top of the bear's head, or can I even see maybe like a little bit of the back of the bear's head like that? I can on the left side, but I can't on the right side. So I'm going to add that in there. And let's see if that makes my silhouette even feel like there's like a little bit more dimension to it. It's this ellipse I really want to draw out, that perfect oval, so I can have that. I don't want this to feel pointed on these two sides. I want it to feel rounded. So I'm going to draw in that interior information, that oval, just to make sure that feels rounded in the silhouette there. Okay. And then I'm going to work on the bottom here. I don't want to forget about that. All right. So then after I have my darker outline with everything kind of coming through, this is when you're going to use your eraser. And I want you to erase out all of that interior information that you drew, all the interior information that you worked on, because this is supposed to be just about the silhouette, just about the shape. And then what's kind of fun about this is like once you get rid of all that interior information, what you will have is just the silhouette, and you'll kind of know if you nailed it after you erase all that inside stuff out. And what you should see is like the silhouette, just the shape of whatever item you chose to draw. And it should be almost kind of obvious about like what item that is, you know, ideally. Pretty obvious. I mean, with organic shapes, it actually might be a little bit more confusing as to like what that is, but with something like a honey bear, like this is such a common household item. Now that we're revealing just the silhouette and we got rid of all the interior information, we can definitely recognize this. And then baby it a little bit. When I say baby it, I mean just like touch it up, make it look good. Refine that line, maybe go over it a little bit more, darken it up, bring up the contrast. Make sure the lines are connected. Like here, it's not connected. I don't want to see that. I want to see the lines connected. No gaps. All right. And there you have it, a little honey bear, okay? So let's move on and do another item just for fun, just to kind of see how to approach a different challenge. So I'll remove the honey bear. I have my pencil, my HB, my eraser. I have my 2B, and I wanted to do this abalone seashell. I'm gonna face it this direction because I just appreciate the shape of it more when I can see this kind of spiral part of the abalone seashell, and I also can see these holes in the seashell as well. So on my piece of paper, I'm going to wipe away those erase marks and then start to look at the shape of that. Okay, so this is like a crazy beautiful texture. There's so much information here, and I don't have to draw every single tiny little part of the abalone seashell, like the entire interior. This one actually is probably going to be easier than the honey bear because I can break this down into like a few different shapes. This front shape is like a pretty interesting triangle, and then we have like kind of like an oval back here, and then I know this little part right here, and then I have these empty holes from the abalone seashell, and those are what I am like going to include, but probably erase out. Well, actually, given that it is negative space, I'm going to draw those holes and I'm going to leave them. because that really does mean that's the silhouette. So that's something to keep in mind. If your object has holes on the interior part of it, draw those in too, because that really will make it look realistic, like more like the actual silhouette of the object. Okay, so that's enough talking. All right, so now we have my HB, once again, starting with that. And I'm just gonna place it right next to my honey bear, nice and close. Like I said, I'm gonna start off with just like that shape. I'm keeping it life size. I got a little big actually on the honey bear, I'm not gonna lie. For me, I always draw, it's more easy for me to draw bigger than smaller. But like I said, try to shoot for life size. I'm gonna try to exhibit some self-control here and make this like a little bit more life size, accurately sized to the actual size of the abalone seashell. Okay, so I have that triangle that I was talking about. I'm gonna kind of like really look at the angle of this edge here. In fact, I can just hold my pencil like this and kind of bring it down like that and see that diagonal shape of the front of my seashell is kind of like more like arranged like that. And then what about this way? Yeah, that looks good. The point is kind of more on the left-hand side here for me from this angle. All right, so we have that. And then of course, like one signifier that this is gonna be an abalone seashell is gonna be just like this spirally shape that happens right here. That little indent, bring that around. And then there is a plane here or a surface, an edge, where the top of the abalone seashell goes up and down over this way, like the kind of like a perspective thing that's happening right here. So I want to make sure I'm seeing that shape, how it kind of goes down. Let's see, and then there's another edge that kind of like, it's like a brim here almost, that comes down and around. So I'm gonna, and that's important interior information for me, not really like all of this textured opalescent stuff that's happening. I could get lost in drawing that for days. So just to make my life a little bit easier, because this is just a silhouette drawing, I'm just looking at the edges of everything. That edge, these bigger kind of planes or shape across the object. All right. Make sure I got these like nuances here too, kind of dips in a little bit, comes back out. This is really far too pointed here. I need this to feel more rounded. Something like that makes more sense. Okay, I gotta grab that eraser so I don't get confused. All right, and then this edge here is kind of where these holes go. These are not perfect circles, but I'm just gonna kind of start with them as kind of perfect little ovals. And I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 of these holes. They go from big to small. I can almost kind of see the edge of one of the holes going this way. I need to bring my edge out a little bit more. Something like that. Try again. Let's be a little bit wider. All right. It's like these holes come right to the edge here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, double check, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I can sort of see other ones kind of going into the distance. And as they go into the distance, they almost become really tiny. And then I'm gonna really look at the shape. It's not a circle or an oval. This is an organic shape. All right, and then we have this one. And then we have this one. And once again, I realized I drew this a little bit larger than it actually is. That is just what I'm a habit of mine for sure. And a comfort zone, actually. I've never been really good at drawing really tiny. And that's just different for everyone. All right, so that's looking pretty good, pretty fresh. Now with my darker pencil, my heavier line weighted pencil, now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start to really darken up and make those lines feel official and slow down a little bit more. I was going pretty fast there, and now that I know that I'm kind of making my final marks here, I'll slow it down. All right. This goes up and around. Oops, went too far out. And we'll just work on this part. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and erase out some of this. And darken up these. And I think you all kind of probably understand it by now, what you've got to do. So have fun with this. Have fun with the layout. Choose objects that are different from one another. And make sure that these lines are connecting and that you really just clean it up well with your eraser, please, as well. So try not to leave too many traces behind. Let's start really caring about the details, okay? And have fun.